Well, today we're going to have a little pizza party. I'm going to make two pizzas. The first one is what I call my supreme veggie pizza, and the second one is going to be a pineapple artichoke pizza. And with that, I'm also going to make two sauces. One is going to be a tomato sauce all the way from scratch, and then the other one is going to be my cashew cheese. So stay with me. Just a little overview how we've set it up here in my kitchen. And we got the lighting, and then we got the pizza crusts, tomatoes, some additional produce, a second pizza crust, and the remaining of all the ingredients that we're going to use. So let's start with the tomato sauce. What you will need for the tomato sauce is some boiling water, tomatoes of course, and then we will have several other ingredients. We will have basil, oregano, garlic cloves, and a sweet onion. In addition, a jalapeno pepper. If you don't have jalapeno peppers, one thing that I always have in my cupboards is arbol chilies. We're actually going to use them today. So what you will do to rehydrate the peppers is just to throw them with the tomatoes in the boiling water. The tomatoes will go in there as well. And this only takes a few minutes, just enough to kind of like get the skin to crack. And then what we will do is place everything into the blender. Into the blender we will have the basil, 3 garlic cloves, and the sweet onion. About half of the sweet onion. Actually, I'm going to start with a little bit less, about a quarter, and then we'll taste it and we'll add more if we need it. I don't want the onion flavor to overwhelm the tomato sauce. So let's add the oregano, and let's see if we have everything. Oh, forget one thing, it's the can of fire roasted tomatoes. I like this brand because it actually doesn't have as much sodium in it, and depending on how much sodium in the can of tomatoes you end up with, you want to adjust the tablespoon of the teaspoon of sea salt that is also on the ingredient list. So we'll add that to the blender as well. So at this point, the skin of the tomatoes is cracked, and we'll just turn off the heat. And we're going to add the tomatoes into the blender. If you don't want to make the tomato sauce, then a couple other things that you can do. There's already pre-made salsa that you can buy at Nature's Food Patch, or just any of the commercial tomato sauces or ketchup, except you will end up with a lot more sodium and also a lot more sugar in some cases, or both. So I prefer to make my own. The next thing, if you have all the ingredients in there, we're going to blend it all up. And after it's all blended, let's just quickly give it a taste. You can definitely taste the basil and the oregano. Don't really taste the onion that much, so we'll put the remainder of the onion in there too. And that's it. No need for additional salt, by the way. And that's the first ingredient ready to go for the pizza. And I thought I was ready, but I forgot one of the ingredients. As you can tell, the chilies are still in the boiling water. So let's cut the stems off and add them one at a time into the mixture until it gets the spiciness that you like. So let's get this a little bit better organized. What we call a mise en place. A mise en place is really all the ingredients prepared and ready to go, meaning cut, washed, everything. In this case, making the pizza, I think it's even more important, because if you have all the ingredients ready to go, you can also invite your children into the kitchen and let them actually make their own pizza. So let's see if this works. 1, 2, 3, and we're ready to go. So what do we have here? We have the tomato sauce that we just made. We got spinach, we got some black beans, and I like to use the Eden Organic one. This is the no salt added version, and the only 3 ingredients here are the beans, water, and kombu is a seaweed. So then we have the sliced up red onions, sliced red bell pepper, roasted red bell pepper, some corn, sun-dried tomatoes, and you can find these in the produce aisle at Nature's Food Patch. I like the dried ones. You can also find them with oil, but I try to avoid oil in my cooking process. They're a little chewy. I personally like that, but if you like it softer, you can just rehydrate it in a little bit of water before you add it to the pizza. Then we got the black olives. We got some dried herbs, oregano, thyme, and basil, just a mixture of the 3. Some red chili flakes. Just use as much as you like. So if you like less heat, just as with the tomato sauce that we made, you can use as much as your preference as you like. And then we got some sliced up mushrooms, and these are just baby portobello. I actually sliced them up last night. I added some low sodium tamari and just let it kind of like soak overnight, just to give it some extra flavor. This is a step you don't really have to do. You can just slice up the mushrooms and add them to your pizza. And then the last 2 ingredients are the fresh herbs. We will add this after the pizza has been cooked and out of the oven. Again, this is basil, thyme, and oregano. And then we have some nutritional yeast. And you can pick up nutritional yeast in the bulk aisle. I personally like the bulk spice aisle at Nature's for multiple reasons. First of all, a great selection. But then the other thing is that when you start making some of the dishes that I show you, they don't really have an expiration date, but I don't prefer to keep my spices longer than about 6 months or so. So how often you use it in the bulk aisle, you can just buy as much as you need for 3, 4, 5, 6 months or so. And it's a great way to test out new spices that you might not have heard about. Just get a little bit, test it out, and see if you like it. So let's pick up all these ingredients and let's build the pizza. And this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. And we'll add the fresh herbs. And the nutritional yeast. For the next pizza, we will have to make the cashew cheese sauce. And the first thing we're going to have to do is soak the cashews for about 2 hours. You can speed up the process by using hot water, or if you have a high-speed blender, you could skip this step, but even with me having a high-speed blender, I still prefer to soak them for about 2 hours just to get a creamier consistency. So you drain the cashews after they've been soaking, add it to your blender. The next ingredient is the tapioca starch or tapioca flour. It's the same thing. And this will, whoops, making a mess here. But this will actually give it the stringy consistency after we heat it up. We'll have the nutritional yeast, miso paste, turmeric, which will give it a nice yellow color, some pepper, and I use the white pepper, but you can use the black pepper too. And then it's calling for a lime. Unfortunately, I don't have any limes today, but I've got plenty of lemons, so we'll use a lemon. And we'll squeeze that into the mixture. Your garlic cloves and some additional salt. And then the water, what I do is like I fill it up to about here, and then I start running it and then see how much more water I need to add to get it into the right consistency. Next, we're going to transfer what we had in our blender into a saucepan and heat it up. We're going to start with a medium-high heat until it gets stringy, and then you're going to turn the heat down. And as you can tell, I have way more sauce, cheese sauce, and also I did the same thing with the tomato sauce than what the recipe is calling for. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to use these two ingredients in some future videos, so stay tuned for that. So continue to stir. In the beginning it will become a little lumpy, but when you stir it, eventually it becomes nice and stringy, and that's the consistency that we're looking for. And this is the consistency that we're looking for. While building your second pizza, make sure you preheat your oven again. And of course, make sure you have your mise en place ready to go. The first ingredient I start with is the cashew cheese. Starting with the cheese sauce will make it much easier to get an even spread. Next ingredient is going to be the tomato sauce, and use as much of the tomato sauce as you like, but don't use too much because that will give you a soggy pizza crust. and then start building your pizza with all the other ingredients. The artichoke hearts, you don't want to use them too big, so cut them in half or maybe slice them up in 3 pieces. And then the dried herbs, adding them to the pizza will give them enough time to rehydrate. The fresh herbs we don't add until after the pizza is finished to avoid burning them because they're very delicate. And then you add the pizza to the oven for about 30 minutes, depending of course on each individual oven. So now we finished the 2 pizzas. The next question is, what are we going to drink with them? And in most cases, pizza have a lot of cheese, pepperoni, and if that's the case, I definitely recommend a wine that has more attitude. But in our case, the 2 pizzas that we just finished are very subtle in flavors, and a light bodied or medium bodied wine will go much better with that. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but at Nature's Food Patch they have a lot of different organic wines to pick from. They had several Pinots, and I selected the Domaine Muscat from Argentina, the Mendoza region, and I just had a few sips, and it's a nice medium bodied wine with hints of strawberry, cherry, and a little bit of vanilla and earthy flavored wine, which I think goes very well with the pizzas. So hopefully I've given you some ideas and you can follow the recipe and make the pizzas exactly the way I did it, or use the ingredients and build your own. So with that said, salut and bon appetit!